He asked an alien for a date. What she said changed his life forever. The coffee shop on Mars Colony 7 smelled like Earth, and that made Danny Carter homesick every single morning. But he came anyway because the barista had purple skin and silver eyes that reminded him why humanity had reached for the stars in the first place. Her name was Lyra, and she belonged to a species called the Valorians who had been traveling the galaxy for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. And Danny had been gathering courage for 3 months to ask her the question that burned in his chest every time she smiled at him. The colony was small, just 5,000 humans and maybe 2,000 aliens from different worlds all living together, in the red dust of Mars trying to make something new, and Danny worked in the hydroponics bay growing tomatoes and lettuce for people who missed the taste of home. Lyra handed him his usual black coffee with 2 sugars, and their fingers touched. For half a second, and Danny felt electricity run up his arm because Valorians generated a small bioelectric field that made physical contact feel like touching a live wire, in the best possible way. Today was the day he decided, and his heart hammered against his ribs like it wanted to escape. "Would you maybe want to have dinner with me sometime?" he asked, and his voice cracked like he was 15 again instead of 28. Lyra stopped moving, and her silver eyes went wide, and the 3 other customers in the shop suddenly got very quiet because everyone knew that humans and aliens did not date, that it was not done, that the cultural differences were too vast, and the biological incompatibilities too complex. Danny immediately regretted everything and wanted the Martian soil to open up and swallow him whole. But then Lyra smiled, and it was like watching a sunrise on Earth. Not the pale sun that rose over Mars, but the full bright golden sun that he remembered from childhood. "Yes," she said simply, and Danny forgot how to breathe. Their first date was at the observation deck where they could see the stars through the dome, and Lyra brought food from her world, small blue fruits that tasted like honey and cinnamon and made his tongue tingle with that same electric feeling. She told him about Valoria, about cities that floated in the clouds and oceans that glowed with bioluminescent life, and about how her people had stopped aging after reaching maturity, which meant she was actually 417 years old but still looked 25 by human standards. Danny told her about Earth, about rain and forests, and the ocean which Mars did not have yet, and about his sister Lisa back home who was raising 2 kids and kept sending him messages begging him to come back to safety. "Why did you say yes?" he asked her when the stars were bright above them. "Because you asked," she said, and her hand found his, and the electricity was there again, warm and alive and right. She explained that in Valorian culture asking someone on a date was considered an act of profound courage, because it meant making yourself vulnerable to rejection, and her people valued courage above almost everything else. "Most humans never ask us anything," she said. "They either fear us or worship us or study us like we are specimens, but you looked at me like I was just a person, and that is rare." The colony started talking, of course, because gossip spread faster than water through the recycling systems, and Danny heard the whispers in the hydroponics bay and saw the stares in the corridors. His supervisor, Greg, pulled him aside one day and asked if he knew what he was doing. "I am just having dinner with someone I like," Danny said. Greg shook his head, but did not say anything else because technically there were no rules against human-alien relationships. They just did not happen often enough for anyone to care. Lyra took him to meet her friends, other Valorians who lived in the colony, and they looked at Danny with those silver eyes and asked him questions in their own language that Lyra translated. And Danny realized they were testing him to see if he was good enough for her. He must have passed because one of them, an older Valorian named Kale, clapped him on the shoulder and said in perfect English, "You are braver than you look human." The second date was in the greenhouse where Danny worked, and he showed her the tomato plants and explained how hard it was to grow Earth food in Martian soil, and Lyra listened like it was the most fascinating thing she had ever heard. She touched the leaves gently and said, "On Valoria, we have gardens that grow plants from 1,000 different worlds all mixed together, creating ecosystems that never existed before. That is what we are." Danny said without thinking, "An ecosystem that never existed before." Lyra looked at him and something shifted in her expression. Something deeper than attraction or curiosity. "Yes," she said softly. That is exactly what we are. They started spending every evening together, walking through the colony corridors or sitting in the observation deck or just talking in the coffee shop after Lyra closed up, and Danny learned that Valorians felt emotions more intensely than humans, that when they loved with their entire being for decades or even centuries. That should have scared him. But it did not. Lisa sent him a video message one day and she looked worried. "Danny, what are you doing?" she asked, the signal delay making her words come in bursts. "Everyone is talking about you and this alien girl. Mom and Dad are freaking out." He sent a message back telling her he was happy, telling her that Lyra made him feel alive in a way he had never felt before, and that he did not care what anyone thought. Lisa responded 3 days later and she was crying. "Just be careful," she said, "because I cannot lose you too." Their brother Kyle had died 5 years ago in a shuttle accident, and it had broken their family in ways that never quite healed, and Danny understood that Lisa was not worried about him dating an alien. She was worried about losing another person she loved. Lyra asked him about his family one night when they were lying on the observation deck floor, looking up at Earth, which was just a blue dot in the black. "I lost my brother," he said, and he told her everything about Kyle, about the accident, about how guilty he felt for leaving Earth and coming to Mars when his family needed him. "Valorians do not die easily," Lyra said. "But we do die, and when we lose someone it hurts for centuries, not just years." She rolled onto her side and looked at him, and her silver eyes were wet. "That is why we choose carefully," she said, "because when we love, we are committing to centuries of grief. If that love is lost, are you choosing me?" Danny asked, and his voice was barely a whisper. "I already chose you," she said, "the moment you asked me that first question." The colony administrator called Danny into her office a month after he and Lyra started dating, and the administrator, whose name was Carol Martinez, looked at him with tired eyes. "I need to ask you something," she said. "Are you doing this for the right reasons?" "What does that mean?" Danny asked. "It means," she said, "are you with her because you actually care about her, or because she is exotic, because she is different, because dating an alien makes you feel special?" Danny felt anger rise in his chest, hot and sharp. "I am with her because she is kind and funny and smart, and because when I am with her I feel like I am the best version of myself. And it does not matter that she has purple skin or silver eyes or that she is 400 years old." Carol studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Good," she said, "because the galaxy is watching, and if this works, if you two actually make it, then you are going to change everything." Danny did not understand what she meant until Lyra explained it to him. Later, "Humans and Valorians have been in contact for 50 years, she said. "But in all that time, no one has ever tried to bridge the gap to really see each other as equals, as potential partners. And if we succeed, if we show everyone that it is possible, then maybe others will try too." "That is a lot of pressure, Danny," said. Lyra laughed, and it sounded like music. "Love is always pressure," she said. "But it is the best kind." 6 months into their relationship, Danny asked Lyra if Valorians got married. "We bond," she said, "and it is more permanent than human marriage because when we bond, we share a piece of our life force with each other and we become connected on a level that humans do not have words for." "Would you ever bond with a human?" he asked. "With the right human," she said, and she kissed him, and the electricity was everywhere. Danny started learning the Valorian language, and it was impossibly difficult, with sounds his human throat could barely make, and grammar that did not follow any pattern he understood. But Lyra was patient, and she taught him words for emotions that English did not have. "There is a word," she said, "that means the joy of choosing to be vulnerable with someone, and another word that means the fear that your love is too much for another person to carry." Danny realized that he felt both of those things every single day. The turning point came on a cold Martian night when the heating systems in the colony failed, and everyone had to crowd into the central hub to stay warm, and Danny and Lyra were pressed together with 100 other people, human and alien, all just trying to survive. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, came up to them and looked at Lyra with wide eyes. "Are you a princess?" she asked. Lyra laughed and said, "No, I am just a person who makes coffee, but you are so pretty," the girl said. "And you are holding hands with him," and she pointed at Danny. "Does that mean humans and aliens can be friends?" The girl asked, More than friends. Lyra said we can be family if we choose. The girl smiled and ran back to her parents, and Danny saw Carol Martinez watching from across the room, and she was smiling too. That night, when the heating was fixed and everyone returned to their quarters, Lyra told Danny something she had never to.